Welcome to our show today. We'll be discussing a topic of importance to family and society: self-medication. Self-medication simply means when people take drugs without prescription from the doctor or guidance, and also from pharmacists or people that are involved in who are knowledgeable about use of drugs. It's common in Nigeria where someone has a headache, the next thing they rush to take paracetamol, ibuprofen, all the big names for headache, and those things can have complications. Oh, my stomach hurts. That someone will just conclude you have ulcer or you need these antibiotics, and so those are common things that happen. So when people use drugs without doctor's prescription and guidance, they self-medicate. Should people take drugs at all? Yes, but there are drugs that people should take. There are drugs that people should get advice before they take. If somebody, for instance, is having high temperature and the body is very hot, that's why there are some over-the-counter drugs. The person might be permitted to take something to reduce that fever, So, but if it persists, the person should seek the advice of a doctor. So, I think it's a topic that cuts across, but we may just start with the children who are vulnerable. Even as early as childhood, newborn, you will realize that as the children develop, in the bid to care, let me say overcare, they are often exposed to all kinds of treatments. It will shock you that when children run temperature sometimes, they just assume, oh, it's teething. These are some of a lot of our mothers and the providers say, oh, the child is teething. We have seen children die because they didn't give attention to high temperature. Just say it's teething, it's normal. You don't need to bother until the child starts convulsing. The worst is that when they are convulsing, they will now be putting spoon in their mouth, putting oil and pouring all kinds of things. The last resort is the hospital when the child is in coma. They now rush the child to the hospital. But, all those practices are not okay because we are endangering the life of the children. So a child is sick. The child should be investigated. What is the cause of the sickness? Don't assume it's malaria, it's typhoid. And then do not just give one medication because you are in a hurry. You don't want it to disrupt your work. The child must go to crèche. The child must go to school. I cannot come and sit all day now. So any mixture that is available is given to the child to drink. And then you go dump the child to people who are taking care of them, the crèche, who are also who are not knowledgeable. We are almost at the same level with them. Sometimes they will now find some mixture and give the child to sleep, so they can, especially when they have a lot of children to attend to. So those are things that can help expose the children to risk because of those attitudes, self-medication, and a lot of children have died as a result of that. And also, this self-medication is also closely related to some beliefs. Some people, you can see a child convulsing, they say, no, be hospital. They know they treat them for hospital. Don't give injection. They don't give them injection. Those are, lack of knowledge is causing some of those things. How can a child be convulsing and they say, don't take him to hospital? It's not something of hospital. And we know that febrile convulsion, for instance, when children have high fever, they will convulse. A lot of lives can be saved if people have appropriate knowledge, So that's why this self-medication topic is so important. Even as adults, people feel headache. That headache is a non-specific symptom. Headache can mean dangerous high blood pressure. And hypertension is also said to be a silent killer. Headache can be the only sign, and the person's life would have been saved. And the person just take paracetamol, go to steering, continue. We have seen people who had accident because of their state of health. They didn't give attention. There was a warning signal. Something as, let's use the word simple. It's not that simple as headache, can be ignored. The next thing you hear, the person collapsed. They come, they say, oh, he's paralyzed, he has stroke. But there was a warning sign that was ignored, or self-medication. You just swallow one drug, and then all people are vomiting or having temperature. Someone just says, oh, it's malaria. Give him malaria medication, they move on. So it's dangerous to self-medicate because it can cause a lot of problems. Some of the challenges or problems that can develop when people mix. Sometimes they take this and mix up, say it will be okay. They mix. Drugs are also chemicals, and it's not all drugs that are mixed together. By the time you take one drug from one group, take another one, before you know, it causes damage. So all these frequent kidney issues that people are having now, I mean, may not be unrelated to the medications they are exposed to. There is a lot of people forget that drugs are poison, and then all the unlicensed, unregistered herbal mixtures, they just advertise all kinds of things at every corner of the street and claim that they treat all kinds of things. So people swallow them. They give damage to the organs in the body, and so those are some of the dangers that self-medication, even death outright. The people have bought some drugs and took, and before you know, they are gone. So some people say, oh, why do people do self-medication? Because sometimes they say, oh, I do not want, if I go to hospital now, I will spend all day, especially government facilities, they'll say they don't want, we don't have the time. But it's always good to have time for your health. Some people will also say cost of treatment is high. Make I just go buy and take. They'll just quickly go buy and take. So those are some of the reasons. Sometimes a neighbor or friend that seems to care will say, that the time I have headache or I did this one, this is the drug I use and it worked for me. Not knowing that no two systems are the same. There may be similar symptoms for different illnesses. So the person takes it, say, let me use it. He uses self-medicate. On the long run, what will be the consequence? Like we talked about antibiotic resistance sometime. Self-medication promotes antibiotic resistance. So what are the common things that people will self-medicate when they have headache, when they will take this painkiller, when they have fever? They say it's malaria, it's typhoid. They will also take. Sometimes complications arise, even things like ulcer, because of different drugs that people box together. They can develop ulcer because of they are doing self-medication. So that's why it's important that this awareness is here. People should get prescribed drugs. What can be done to reduce or prevent self-medication? Awareness. People should know that you don't just swallow drugs for swallowing sake. Let there be diagnosis before treatment is given. Government should ensure prescription rights. You do not go to the shop to just buy any drugs. It must be prescribed. That way, it's not available. In advanced countries, people witness that they can't just walk in and buy drugs because they care for the life of their citizens. So it must be prescribed. So government policy in this regard is very important. Awareness of people to know that, it's important that you go to the hospital, be properly diagnosed, and the ailment treated. The drug resistance that we said, antibiotic resistance, is a major factor arising from this. So that is why it's important that people are aware, people are educated on the danger of self-medicating. And we talked about the children who are vulnerable. By the time you pump all the drugs into their system, they develop antibiotic resistance. They can also die because overdose and incorrect drugs administered, because someone can be given drug wrongly and the sickness is getting worse. That's why people usually come to the hospital when it's in an emergency state. That is started small. They will say, take this, take that. Before you know, it gets worse. And by the time they are approaching health facility, it's now in critical situation. So it's a collective advocacy for, first of all, love yourself. Don't kill yourself with what you take in, because people kill themselves in aliquots by taking unprescribed drugs and trying to avoid the cost. I mean, what can be quantified compared to the life? So people should be conscious of their own life. Then government should do its own to be able to ensure regulation to help people to live long. So these are the things that can be done to help prevent self-medication. You can follow and also get more information on our social media handles and the numbers displayed. You can also reach to us at Waterfalls Hospital, Okota or Ikotu. Thank you for watching.